Hello. Welcome everyone to the Frequency Shift podcast with Alexis Gallagher and Susan Elliott. We are now into this book, The Science of Getting Rich by Wattles, which we're both so excited about. It's a great book. It's a very short book, so we'll probably do at least 3 chapters at once. And the first 3 chapters are like a wake-up call. And if you feel like if you're feeling lack or limitation in your life and you want something more, then these are for you. This book is for you. So a lot of times we play small and we're shrinking and we believe that, there's nothing else for us, but we all know that there is. Alexis and I know that there's something more. So I'll just get right into it. The first chapter, he's talking about the right to be rich. And when you first hear that, it sounds like, oh, that's kind of greedy, or that's not for me. But it makes sense when you read this because he talks about it, the way that he explains it, that you cannot have and do and be all that you want to do unless you have plenty of money to do it. If you're an artist, for example, like I am, you can't buy all the materials. You aren't able to buy the paper, the paint, the all the materials to paint or whatever it is you're doing. So he says, whatever may be said in praise of poverty, the fact remains that it is not possible to live a really complete or successful life unless one is rich. And you could substitute that word. You could say, unless you're wealthy or unless you have plenty of money. A person develops in mind, soul, and body by making use of things in society is so organized that man must have money in order to become the possessor of things. Therefore, the basis of all advancement must be the science of getting rich. And he goes on further. He says, this desire to realize innate possibilities is inherent in human nature. We cannot help wanting to be all that we can be. Success in life is becoming what you want to be. You can become what you want to be only by making use of things, and you can have the free use of these things only as you become rich enough to buy them. To understand the science of getting rich is therefore the most essential of all knowledge.
That's great. It reminds me of how it's just for fuller expression and expansion of the soul to express love by through these things that we can do in our life. And to do that, we need to get rich, right? A lot of people are going to say, "Oh, I just want to help other people." But in order to help other people, the best and most noble thing you can do is get rich yourself because it's really a mindset. That's what money is. It's just energy and it has ears, and when you call it, it comes. And that's all it is. You're just in your own way and you don't know it. And there's nothing wrong with being rich.
Exactly, exactly. Like I said at the beginning, it's sometimes you're like, oh, that sounds greedy, or that, that's
Or you
not
think of the,
me.
yeah, or you think of the rich people that have wronged people. And sure, they're out there, but that doesn't mean there's a lot of rich and wealthy people I know that have done a lot of good. So it's like it's one of those things just because you have XYZ doesn't speak to your entire character, right? So to
That's
get rid of
right.
that paradigm and move forward.
Well, like Bob said, there's good and bad in everything. You can see somebody on the outside and say, oh, they're doing all these wonderful things. Well, rest assured, everybody has faults. Everybody has other thoughts other than what they're showing on the outside. But that's a whole nother study.
Yeah,
There
right.
are 3 motives for which we live. We live for the body, we live for the mind, and we live for the soul. No one of these is better than the other. All are alike desirable, and no one of the 3, body, mind, or soul, can live fully if either of the others is cut short of life and expression. It is not right or noble to live only for the soul and deny the body, and is wrong to live for the intellect and deny body or soul. We're all acquainted with the loathsome consequences of living for the body and denying both mind and soul. And we see that real life means a complete expression of all that a person can give forth through body, mind, and soul. So, Alexis and I learned from our mentor, Bob, that he always taught about the three planes of understanding, the intellect, you have the thought, the intellect, and in the body, and everything manifests through your thinking, acting, and feeling. And so that is exactly how it works. And it's simple, but putting into practice the proper principles is a whole other thing.
Yeah, I love that part though. That was when I first started reading this Science of Getting Rich. That chapter right, or that paragraph right there that you just read with us being three parts, that just was such a eye opener for me, and it stuck with me till up until now about how important it is to understand that we're taking care of ourselves on multiple planes.
Exactly. Well, and society today is so focused on body, and our body is only a very small part of our true being. As we
Hmm.
know, our spirit is what makes who we are. Our body is just the shell we live in while we're on earth.
Hmm.
And he goes on to the end of this chapter. It is in the use of material things that a person finds full life for his body, develops his mind, and unfolds his soul. It is therefore of supreme importance to each individual to be rich. It is perfectly right that you should desire to be rich. If you are a normal man or woman and you cannot help doing so, it is perfectly right that you should give your best attention to the science of getting rich, for it is the noblest and most necessary of all studies. If you neglect this study, you are a derelict to your duty, to yourself, to God, and humanity, for you can render to God and humanity no greater service than to make the most of yourself. So,
Love that.
yeah, me too. The chapter 2 is there is a science to getting rich. So it is an exact science, and if you follow it, he says that you'll become rich. It's exact. The ownership of money and property comes as a result of doing things in a certain way. And those who do things in a certain way, whether on purpose or accidentally, get rich, while those who do not do those things in a certain way, no matter how hard they work or how able they are, remain poor. So my first question when I first started studying, I was kept saying, what does he mean doing things in a certain way? And further on in this chapter, it will go over what he means by that, but it basically means that you're doing it with the right attitude in your thought, feeling, and action, but you're also following universal laws, which you, an example of one of the universal laws is the law of gravity, but like there's different ideas on how many actual universal laws, but there's some basic 7 to 8 different universal laws, and all the rest are, from those basic laws. When two people are in the same locality and in the same business, and one gets rich while the other remains poor, it shows that getting rich is not primarily a matter of environment. Some environments may be more favorable than others, but when two people in the same business or in the same neighborhood and one gets rich while the other fails, it indicates that getting rich is a result of doing things in a certain way. And further, the ability to do things in this way is not due solely to the possession of talent. For many people who have great talent remain poor, while others who have very little talent get rich. Studying the people who have gotten rich, we find that they are an average lot in all respects. having no greater talent and ability than other people have. It's evident that they do not get rich because they possess talents and abilities that others do not have, but because they happen to do things in a certain way. So, what is your take on the certain way, Alexis?
Hmm. I think if even if you just spend time around affluent people, right? They move and act in a different way. And one thing that comes to mind is like rushing, right? You never see them rushing around because that's worry and doubt expressing itself. And they have a lot of things to get done, and they know that, and they know that they'll get them done. So it's everything from your thought process to how you're thinking inside, and then that expresses itself in how you're acting. And so when I was first using this material, I would put myself there with, I think, okay, so how do I act now that I have the money that I want to have, right? I'm not rushing around. I'm calm, I'm confident, I'm moving in the directions of the things I need to do. And I'm doing it methodically because I know that I have enough time. I know I have enough money. I know I'm going to accomplish these things. And the things I don't get done today, they're going to move to the top of the list for tomorrow. And it really made a huge shift in my life. And I was able to reap the benefits and rewards of following these laws and these teachings of thinking and acting in a certain way. And I really loved hearing that. It's like, okay, it doesn't matter what you do, because before I was always thinking, oh, what's that person doing? I got to go do that, or I got to go be in that field, right? And it's like, no, you can get rich in any field that you're in. It's simply about how you're doing it.
Exactly. So, yeah, doing it in a certain way and following those universal laws. So, as at the end of this chapter, he says, you may not have friends, influences, or resources, but if you begin to do things in a certain way, you must infallibly begin to get rich. For like causes produce like effects. If you have no capital, you can get capital. If you're in the wrong business, you can get in the right business. If you're in the wrong location, you can get in the right location. And you do so by beginning in your present business and in your present location to do things in a certain way that always causes success. You must begin to live in harmony with the laws governing the universe. So there he is talking about the laws of the universe and knowing those and applying them in your life. So, chapter 3, he's asking, is opportunity monopolized? And he says, no one is kept poor because other people have monopolized the wealth and have put a fence around it. You may be shut off from engaging in business in certain lines, but there are other channels open to you. At different periods, the tide of opportunity sets in different directions according to the needs of the whole in the particular stage of social evolution, which has been reached. There is abundance of opportunity for the person who will go with the tide instead of trying to swim against it. So, workers, either as individuals or as a class, are not deprived of opportunity. I think a lot of us grow up thinking, well, for an example, I used to think, oh, well, they're doctors, so, they're going to be rich, or, oh, they're this or that or that. He's saying it doesn't have to do with that. It has to do with your thinking. It has to do with your identity.
Mhm.
You change how you see yourself, then the results follow. But you have to keep implementing that every day over and over and over before you change your identity. So, ascending your identity is very important. The visible supply is practically inexhaustible, and the invisible supply really is inexhaustible. Everything you see on earth is made from one original substance, out of which all things proceed. New forms are constantly being made, and older ones are dissolving. But all are shapes assumed by one thing. There is no limit to the supply of formless stuff or original substance. The universe is made out of it. but it was not all used in making the universe. The spaces in, through, and between the forms of the visible universe are permeated and filled with the original substance, with the formless stuff, with the raw materials of all things. 10,000 times as much as has been made might still be made, and even then we should not have exhausted the supply of universal raw material. No one, therefore, is poor because nature is poor or because there is not enough to go around. Nature is an inexhaustible storehouse of riches. The supply will never run short. Original substance is alive with creative energy and is constantly producing more forms. So, yeah, everything is energy and the source is inexhaustible. And the first time I heard that, I was like, what? I don't understand that, but it's so true. Everything is energy and it comes from one source. So it is inexhaustible.
I think it helped our listeners get it right because the first time, if this is your first time hearing this kind of verbiage and these ideas, it's like, whoa, what am I hearing? I don't understand it. And when we're talking about like formless substance and original substance, it's all omnipresent, right? It's universe that's everywhere all the time, always working. And the formless substance, it's in the ether. It's like it's above us, right? For visual purposes, because we think in pictures. So think of it as this formless substance above your mind, and you get to pull that in and shape it with your will, your thinking, and you create whatever you want out of this formless substance. And then as you internalize that, that becomes your results. That means you really can have and do and be anything you want. All opportunity is there for you if you're willing to, right, not accept or reject, but at least take these ideas we're giving you and work with them and try them and see how it changes your life in the next 30 days.
That's great. So basically, to summarize, he's saying that everyone has a right to be rich because it's your natural state. It's everybody's natural state for fuller expression and expansion. And he's saying, yeah, there is a science to it, and anyone can learn it and anyone can apply it. And then lastly, he was saying is opportunity monopolized. Well, no, it's not monopolized because the world is full of opportunity. And he does stress the fact that we should be thinking creatively, not competitively. So we're
Hmm.
not competing against anybody else. We have our own creativity. Everybody is creative and we have our own opportunity. So it's, shift your thinking, change your thinking. It's like what Wayne Dyer said, if you change the way you look at something, that thing changes.
I love that, Susan. That's so good. And I just like, because I use this often, especially being on a sales floor, you're like, okay, here's the competitive plane, right? Which most salespeople or most people are going to be at in life. They think they have to, fight against other people to get what they want. And that's the lack of limitation mindset. And so it keeps you stuck there. And then I always visualize moving up. And on the higher plane, right? Of course, it doesn't make you better, right? You're just doing better. And on this higher plane, then you're on the creative plane. You get to create your next client. You get to create your next, win and success up here. It's unlimited. And you get to just be the painter, right? And paint the life you want to live up here. And the universe wants to give you that. It's waiting, and it's just waiting for a clear picture.
Wow, that's well said. Thank you, Alexis.
Yeah.
So, Alexis and I just want you to know that we choose to attract that wealth by helping people. And our mentor said, don't chase money. Don't chase money. It's good to have a goal, but you don't chase it because it'll run away. You
It's
attract
true.
it by who you become.
Yeah, that's great, Susan. Yes. You're the
Yes,
master of money, and otherwise, don't ever get that backwards where where it becomes the master of you. So that reminds me of what you just said. And you sit still, you call, and you let it come to you.
wonderful, wonderful. So we'll be going three more chapters probably next time. And thank you so much for joining us. And if you have a question or comment, feel free to reach out to us directly.
Yes, don't miss the next chapter. This book is phenomenal. It will change your life. It certainly changed Susan and I's life, and we cannot wait to see you next time on the frequency shift. And we are so grateful for all our listeners. Take care, everybody.
Bye bye.